Hi guys, my name's Laura and I'm the Specky Seamstress. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you my new sewing room, which I'm super excited about. I know that I've been talking about it for a little while, and as these things always are, it's been a little bit, it's not been delayed, it's taken me longer than I thought it would. But I'm excited to show you it today. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour. It is not perfect, these things never are, but it is definitely ready to show. Just for a little bit of background, if you haven't been watching my channel, or if I've edited out the rambling story about my sewing room on previous videos, me and my husband decided that we would swap the two rooms on our middle floor. So I was sewing before in the smallest room in the house, which was kind of the study that we turned into the sewing room when I started sewing. And the room that we're currently in now, it was the spare bedroom, and it was a pretty big spare bedroom. And we decided that, bearing in mind we don't have anyone to stay very often, particularly not at the minute, and bearing in mind my sewing was getting harder and harder to keep contained in the sewing space, with the more, blog posts and video paraphernalia and things that were going on, that we would swap them over, and that I would have the slightly bigger space just to be able to set myself up. Now this started because I decided I was going to get a cutting table that would be removable, but I could put over the bed in the spare bedroom so that I could have a cutting space set up permanently, but removable when someone came to stay. Basically, my husband decided that giving me two rooms to spread out my stuff was a bad idea and that one bigger room was better than two rooms. So yeah, we decided that we would swap stuff around. So let me show you the space. So I'm going to do my absolute best to keep the camera nice and steady as possible so that we don't induce motion sickness with moving around the room too much. We're currently stood in the doorway and we're looking out over my cutting table. Now we're going to start off with talking about that, as that's kind of where the sewing room move came from. So you can buy a table if you would like to use as a cutting table. I was a little bit fussy about the height of the cutting table that I wanted, so I went for the approach of buying a giant piece of wood from B&Q, which is a hardware store here in the UK. So this is a 25mm thick piece of MDF, which as a standard sheet, comes as a 2.4 m by 1.2 m piece. So that is not the size of this. I've had some pieces cut off of it. B&Q will also cut your wood for nothing as long as you want less than 4 cuts done. So I have this cut down to 1.2 m by 1.8 m. 1.8 meters? 1.7 meters. 1.7 meters. So 170 centimeters by 120 centimeters, which gives me plenty enough room to lay out a project that needs to be done single layer, whether that is laying it across the 170 side if it's a wide piece of fabric, or laying it across the 120 side, like 120 centimeter side, if I want to lay it out longer, which is useful for those kind of projects where you haven't got much fabric to be playing around with. So I did that mostly because when we first started talking about this, the idea was that this table would be removable. So I bought a tabletop and I bought legs so that it would be easy to screw the legs out and have someone stay here when it was necessary. So I ordered the legs on Amazon. I made a big mistake. I was fussy about the height because I wanted it to be nice and tall, and I was worried that the kind of 80-ish centimeter legs that you can buy weren't going to be big enough. Weren't going to be tall enough, so I ordered some very tall legs which had to be returned because they were too tall, and these are 87 centimeters tall, and it's a really good height. Actually, it's a nice height. I can finally cut a project out without it hurting my back, which is excellent. Across the top I have 4 cutting mats that are 90 by 60, so they stick out a little bit over one end, which is fine. And you can see that underneath I've got a Kallax unit, a 2x4. On the other side I have a 2x2, and that wasn't originally the intention, but the legs, the tabletop is very heavy and the legs are not 100% stable, so the Kallax units with some little wooden pieces underneath just help make sure it's nice and stable for its purpose. And that just means I've got a little bit more storage, which can only be a good thing. Now, you might recognise that Kallax unit if you've been watching this channel for a little while, and actually if you watched my previously most recent fabric sewing room tour, because I only just redid the sewing room about 2 months ago. This used to store a lot of my fabric in, and one of the things I really wanted to do when I moved in here was to move away from having all my fabric in Kallax boxes, because I didn't find it particularly easy to access all of the fabrics. You know, you could see it all, but if you wanted a piece that was at the bottom of the pile, it was quite hard to keep everything neat and tidy. So shall we talk about fabric next, or shall we talk about this? Let's talk about this. So I've also become a member of the Pegboard Club. So if I move us back ever so slightly without falling down the stairs, I had fancied the idea of a pegboard, but if I'm perfectly honest, I'd not been a huge fan of them for a while. And let me tell you why, because I know that that's probably a slightly unpopular opinion, because they're very popular for craft room organisation. But I don't actually think they're very efficient storage. I mean, they're not. They're not very efficient. It takes quite a lot of space to put things up, and quite often in the kind of Instagram world, things are really spread out on them. So I don't find them particularly efficient, but it is actually really handy for specific purposes. So this is really a planning notice board for me. It is mostly for me to jot down ideas and play Lucky Dip, which we'll talk about in a minute. But also it's a place for me and my husband to put my post. So this is an in tray with all my sewing pins on it, and store all of my cutting stuff to hand for using at the cutting table, as well as a few decorative things for my tripod, things for photos, and a lint roller, because everything I own is covered in cat hair. So planning wise, we've got a notepad, 2 notepads up here. The first one is just a to-do list for things, projects that I have on the go, on projects that I have upcoming, particularly if it's like blog posts, things that I need to schedule or I have a deadline for. And then underneath is another notebook that says big projects that I want to plan, sew and wear. Now, I can't be the only one that has a list of projects in their head that they really want to sew, but for some reason they never get round to. And I've called it big projects, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a big complex, but big in the sense that it just never gets done. So I'm going to be adding projects on there so that I can have a reminder, have a place to put them down on paper, so that when I have those ideas, they don't just kind of linger in my head and stress me out. And so that I can actually pick one, you know, when I'm in the mood to start a big project, so then I can actually sew them. You know, I can look at that list and say, oh, I fancy sewing that today, rather than having to kind of think back through all the plans that I've had. So let me briefly talk about the Lucky Dip system. So I put a video series together earlier on in the year talking about activities and tasks that you could do to help you kind of get your mojo back, and to think about, to still be involved in sewing without doing anything too kind of heavy going. And I've recently been in a bit of a mood where I've wanted to sew, but I'm not really sure what. And I think a lot of people are in that mood at the minute. They've been really busy sewing through lockdown and their creative juices are running low. So what I've done is filled these little buckets with 10-minute and 30-minute activities, and some of them will be reusable. There's always going to be things to hem. There's always going to be things to alter. There's always going to be bias binding to be cut. But some of them will just be one-off things. You know, you've been putting off taking up that hem of that dress for ages and you should probably do that now, type things. So that's going to be nice and fun. And I'm thinking, if you guys are interested, that I've only put a few things in there at the minute, but I thought I might do a live where we can go through what I've got in there, and also you can suggest some ideas for me to pop in there as well. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Also, I would love your advice on, or your thoughts on, what I should put in the middle of this warning in progress sign, because this is kind of the first thing you see as you enter the door. So I'd like it to be something cool. I've got a few ideas. You can check out my Instagram if you want to know those. I'm actually kind of pondering making it an interchangeable one. I like the idea of bobbin chicken. I like the idea of procrastination or seam ripping, but yeah, it'd be fun to change it up maybe. So let me know your thoughts on that. Anyway, if we go back round via the table, do you like my Sewing Appreciation Society label? Because I am very pleased with it. But if we move into the room and look to our right, you'll see my desk. I'm going to pull the door and squeeze in a bit further. So not a huge amount has changed outwardly, at least, in my desk area. I still have my 2 machines set up. I have a lot less on it now because I've got better spaces to put most things that I have had in there. Quite a lot has been changed in the drawers because I'm trying to be better at having all the things that I need to hand, just so that I can keep everything tidier, including all of my threads in a nice storage solution. And these are going to be all of my pattern pieces, but they're in that Kallax unit, but they're not quite all ready yet. The pattern pieces are the bit that I still have not sorted very well. And it means that it being clearer means I can have this beautiful wall full of lovely things, which are there to inspire me. This is a new addition, my sewing room rules, which I love, although there is a spelling mistake on them. So they read: relax, do your best, don't cut projects while tired, tidy away your threads when you are done, keep your scissors and tape measure to hand, stored, go with your gut, it will look fabulous, always add pockets, it doesn't have to be perfect to be wearable, and believe in yourself. So I'd love to know what your favourite is and what your sewing room rules would be. I've also got a very extra gold and red Specky Seamstress sign, which I'm kind of in love with too. But yeah, I love this wall. I'm really, really pleased with it. And it just makes me happy. Right, shall we spin around? I did mean to say that the reason I said lots have changed in my drawers, I will probably do another video talking specifically about my sewing desk organisation, but I'm not going to talk hugely about it now. I'm also probably going to do more of a separate video talking about my fabric storage, or potentially the use of this whole wardrobe, but I'll give you a bit of an idea now. So this wardrobe has been here since we moved house. We should have used it for craft storage over a year ago, and we just never thought about it because when we cleared it out we realised there was actually a lot of space in here. So the left hand side, this is an IKEA Pax wardrobe, which means you can buy lots of internal, solutions for it. So I have a hanging rail on the left hand side. Now up here I have a couple of units that have got my elastics, my trims, my bias binding, things like that in them. And then hanging up are all of my upcoming projects or works in progress. So upcoming projects on the right with the hanging fabric, and works in progress in the bags, as well as a couple of alterations or like very close to being finished projects on the left there as well. And the idea is that as I get more organised in here, pattern pieces for those projects will also be paired with those works in progress and hung up. The bottom is a little bit of a mess at the minute, sorry, but we have some large pieces of fabric that I'm not really sure what to do with yet. I don't really want to chuck, but I'm not convinced I love. Some more blog post makes, and my bias binding machine and pins and empty spools and things like that. And then on the underneath, just a few more haberdashery things, scraps, things that are stored away. This left hand side is not particularly well organised yet, but we're getting there and it's iterative, so that's fine. Also, do you like my decorative stickers? Because I'm in love with them. They look like planets and it's amazing. I bought these on eBay and I'll pop the link down below. But yeah, I'm really, really in love with them. Right, shall I show you the right hand side? This is where all of my fabric is stored. So you guys who have watched my videos before, you will have seen the amount of fabric that I had, and it's all stored in the right hand side of this now. So in the top, I have my heavier weight coatings, wools, yeah, heavy jerseys, denims. They're all stored on bolts, which were very kindly given to me by Felicity Fabrics, as they had some spare. And then all of my other fabric is stored in these drawers, which I have shown a little bit more of on my Instagram, and like I say, I'm going to talk a little bit more about. But I have in the solid drawer on the top is things that need unpicking and clothes that I'd like to alter or upcycle or whatever. In the white mesh drawer, got all my jerseys, and then moving down, oh hi cat, come to sniff my fabric, thanks. And the next drawer down is my viscoses and lightweight cottons. The one down is my cottons and yeah, that's right, Pixel. Cotton sateens, linens, things like that. And then one down from that is slightly heavier fabric, so my canvases, my twills, things like that. They're all stored on comic book boards, which everybody loves. I had never known about them, but they're amazing. And then, yeah, I can see all my fabrics, which is awesome. It makes it so much easier for me to plan and sew a project, just being able to see everything and take it out easily without interfering with everything else. So we're kind of getting to the end of the tour. We have this wall, which is not going to focus well, there we go, where I have a couple of extra little bits and pieces to look at. Underneath the table, I've got a scraps bin. I have my ironing station set up here, my lunchbox, because I've been using this room as my office recently as well. And then, yeah, that's kind of it. I've got some projects on the go at the minute that I'm going to upcycle on the table. I'm going to take the skirts off of these old dresses. I guess the only thing I haven't shown you is the ensuite, but there isn't really much to show you in there. So let me go back to the desk. The ensuite is going to be my wet room for crafts, so like my paints and ice dyeing and fabric dyeing and screen printing are going to go on in there, but at the minute it's still full of bits of old furniture from where we've been sorting out the house a little bit, so it's not ready yet. But yeah, that's a little quick insight into my sewing room. I would love to answer any questions that you have in the comments box below, so please do let me know what you think of the space. I am absolutely delighted with it. I feel so creative in it. It's amazing. I think this video is going to be going up early on Friday because I think there might be something exciting coming your way on Friday, maybe, or at least the next time you see me I'll have some very exciting news for you. Yeah, I can't wait to tell you some more, but you're going to want to tune in, and I think I will be having a live talking about the announcement any day now. So keep your eyes peeled, and until next time, bye! The ensuite is going to be my wet room for crafts, so like my paints and ice dyeing and fabric dyeing and screen printing are going to go on in there, but at the minute it's still full of bits of old furniture from where we've been sorting out the house a little bit, so it's not ready yet. But yeah, that's a little quick insight into my sewing room. I would love to answer any questions that you have in the comments box below, so please do let me know what you think of the space. I am absolutely delighted with it. I feel so creative in it. It's amazing. I I think this video is going to be going up early on Friday because I think there might be something exciting coming your way on Friday, maybe. Or at least the next time you see me, I'll have some very exciting news for you. Yeah, I can't wait to tell you some more, but you're going to want to tune in, and I think I will be having a live talking about the announcement any day now. So keep your eyes peeled, and until next time, bye!